So good morning and welcome to day 2 of Spiritual Love Week. And we have a special guest here, author and pink love specialist, Renair Amin, is going to bless us with her wisdom and knowledge today. So thank you so much, sister, for joining me. It is a pleasure to have you here. And just share a little bit about yourself, about the work that you do. And I know you have a book that we talked about, so I'd love to hear more about that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm really excited. It's early, but I'm grateful. My name is Renair Amin, and I am a pink love specialist, relationship expert. The thing that I like to share is pink love is really that agape kind of unconditional love. Pink is it's a secondary color of the heart chakra. So I look at ways to help heal the heart chakra area. So I'm not just a relationship expert and coach and all that wonderful, fabulous stuff. I'm also a doctoral student. I am studying faith trauma in the LGBTQ community. Oh. I also am an author of 3 other books in addition to the one we'll talk about today. And I go around as an empowerment coach and speaker. I speak in schools, I speak at conferences around different subjects. And at the end of all of that, I'm also a marriage officiant. So I get the wonderful pleasure of taking couples along their journey and also to matrimony. So that's really cool.
Beautiful. Well accomplished, out here on a mission. I love that. And today is actually Black Love Day, which I thought was like a really special thing. Who is one of your favorite Black couples?
You know what? My favorite Black couple has changed, and recently, and it's a fictional couple, but they are on this show called This Is Us. And as Beth and Randall, they have the most intense interaction, and the wife is very sarcastic and understanding that her husband is just who he is. She accepts him and loves him for who he is, but at the same time, she's like, no, I'm not doing that. And he's tuned into her in such a way that he's one of few people that understands where her head is, where it is. And so I think that it is like more modern version of the Huxtables, so to speak. Okay. And I just love that interaction and how they play off each other and accept each other in such a way that they kind of just gel. I think that's beautiful.
I think, yeah, that's a really great example. I am probably one of the few people who have not seen This Is Us, but I have to say that I've been loving Barack and Michelle Obama for the longest time. I think that they are just grace and beauty and love. Their whole family dynamic, I think, is fabulous. And something that you touched on is that accepting people and loving them for who they are, because so many people have that twisted, okay, I'm love you, but you're going to have to change X, Y, and Z because I don't like that, or that doesn't fit with me. Mm-hmm. And love is accepting somebody, the good, the bad, the ugly, and helping them to grow and to blossom into their best self, but not to push them to change. And having somebody that can understand your thoughts and, why you're where you are, that is so just, oh my gosh, that's the type of love that I have no words. It's amazing to have somebody who gets you and they're like, okay, I know how she's going to react to this, so let me not do this. And to be able to love and accept somebody, but also have your boundaries and say, no, that's taking it too far. That's real. I like that.
Well, I love Michelle and Barack as well. I was trying to think of, because when you talk about Black love couples, they're at the top of the list. There's always Beyonce and Jay-Z up there, so there were people that, you kind of expect to be on top of that list. Even the fictional Huxtables, like we're on before everything else happened. Well, you know, on top of the list. So I tried to think of what would be new and different, but I definitely admire the Obamas, because here it is, it's real. It's something you can touch. It's not scripted. And you know that behind the scenes, they probably have their struggles and their journey, you know, their conversations and misunderstandings and things just like anybody else. But it still manifests itself in this long-term, beautiful, flowing love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I like it because there's so much more positivity around Black love, because there's always been like these myths of, you know, there's not enough men available, or all men are like this, or all women are like that. And just so to like kind of break down some of those stereotypes, I think it's just beautiful to have a day to really just bask in the glory of Black love, especially during Black History Month.
Yeah, so it all ties in. It all ties in.
Absolutely. So share with us a little bit more about your work and your books. And I think you are so amazing with the work that you do. And I did want to touch on something. So you did mention that pink was a secondary color of the heart chakra. So I do a lot of energy healing work as well. And for me, blue has always been the color of love to me. And like in some training and stuff that I've done, I learned that, you know, there are different chambers or layers of the heart chakra. So one of the colors is pink, which is typically what corresponds with our heart chakra, or green. And then there's pink. And then there's blue, which is like the compassion, or the highest level of love. And I thought that was really beautiful.
Yes, pink is interesting because when people think of pink, they think of this effeminate color. I remember someone answered back. I had sent out a mailing, you know how people on your mailing list, and they sent me back in real big capital letters, "I don't see pink as a color of strength." And I was just like, okay. I'm not sure, you know, I'm not sure what you want me to do with that. But what I said back is pink is this the color of friendship. It's warmth.
Yeah.
It is this healing light, so to speak.
Right.
And so I fell in love with it. I wasn't really a big fan of pink. That happened over probably the past couple of years, but I didn't understand why. And then, you know, when you're working on purpose, sometimes the universe will send you things that'll stand out to you or jump out to you, and you just don't know why. And then one day, like you said, you were studying something, you saw blue, and you were like, oh, that makes sense. And so that's how pink showed up. And I started doing a lot of work with rose quartz and things like that. So it's just interesting how you don't know how things will manifest in your journey until it does.
Yeah, I think that's the beautiful part of it, especially with that, you know, metaphysical, spiritual energy, and because different things are revealed to you in your journey, and being able to apply it and help other people through healing and transformation, I think is just one of the best ways to be of service to others.
Yes. As far as it's really interesting how sometimes you don't realize that your whole life has been part of a journey until you get to some of the places you need to go. So I never really saw myself as a healer or a person that was about transformation. It was just one day I realized that all of these things, it was almost like realizing that my life almost read like a book that nobody wanted to live. You know, I've been through all of these trials, all of these mapping points, and I was just like, well, if these are things that people lie about in books, you know, these are things that people are like, that they give to fictional characters that I've actually lived. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. And what am I supposed to do with this? Because it's not just for me to fall all out and lay on the floor and be depressed. Right. There must be a purpose to it that is far beyond what's happening for me in the moment. And so that's how I began to be involved in all of this. And even like today, one of the things I wanted to talk about was, even though it's Black Love Day, and although we're also in the midst of that great holiday of Valentines Day, you know, all of that, all that stuff that goes, I wanted to look at what happens when the love doesn't work out.
Right. Yeah.
And what happens when the relationship had to end. And now you're in the midst of holidays that are to celebrate something that you're no longer feeling. How do you take care of yourself, and how do you deal with that? So like, I do have a book called Come With Me, Love, that looks at the intimacy of a couple. It's a devotional for both couples to do. But the book I wanted to look at today, which I have right next to me, like, it's this one. So it's the Pit Crew, How to Survive a Spiritual Pit Stop. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that is, one, you know, it's one of my, I think it's my second book. But the thing was, who we have in our lives at the time when we go through these moments, when we go through these breakdowns, becomes almost as important as what we do with our own self-care. And so, being that this is a time when people are trying to deal with these moments of, okay, what do I do now that I don't have my boo anymore? And everybody's like, I love you, and I love you, and all the world. And then you're going to log on tomorrow or the next day or however, and see flowers and candies and, you know, all of that other stuff. Like, how do you take care of yourself in that moment? Because we don't talk about that during this time.
We don't. And that, excuse me, and that is something that I think is really important, because there's a series of holidays, right, after each other: Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and Valentine's Day. And it might not be a romantic relationship, but having lost someone, period, it can be traumatizing. And some people feel like, oh my God, like, I just need April to get here. Like, let me get through this season, because they feel like, you know, they're taking blow after blow after blow. And you said something that's so important. The people around us can really make situations better or worse after having lost someone. And I remember, because I was in an abusive relationship, so like, leaving that relationship, and then the people around me, it was all this shoulda, coulda, woulda, like, I would have did this and that wouldn't have been me, and blah, 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 blah. And that was so harmful to my well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, this was a little over 10 years ago, there was not a lot of help. People weren't talking about mental health, because I was suffering from depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder on top of all of that. And so then on top of that, well, I was crazy. I was just wanting attention. And it took me a lot longer to heal, because I didn't have a supportive environment. So I literally had to block everyone out. I moved away, like, to this little small town and like really secluded myself, and had to rebuild from the inside out like that. So, you know, I'm just very careful about who I let into my life now for that reason. Because if you don't have a strong support system, you will stay in that pit or in that valley a little longer than you should.
Right. And you know, I as well had spent about 3 years in a very abusive relationship, and it was the same gender loving relationship. And because the individual was, maybe at that time, I had gained about 100 pounds. So I was about almost 300 pounds, because I'm tall. So but it still looked like almost 300 pounds. And they maybe weighed about $150, if that, wet.
Wow.
And so when I got out of the relationship, everybody had so much to say. Oh, you were bigger than them. Why you didn't do this? And, oh, that couldn't have been me, and this, that, and the third. And it does make your healing process harder. It's just like, I did a healing circle, an online healing circle around the brokenhearted. And one of the things that we talked about was this idea of disenfranchised grief, where people get to tell you what they think is appropriate for your grief. Like if it's something that wouldn't affect them the same kind of way, they don't get it. But they understand like loss of mother or loss of, you know, something else that's or someone else very, very close to you, loss of your marriage, but if say you were only dating a person 2 months and you're devastated, your friends are like, girl,
yeah,
you know, you're only with him for 2 months. What are you talking about? You was only with them for 2 weeks. What are you talking about? But that incident could have triggered something else that you didn't even realize that was there. Maybe it wasn't losing them, but it was just losing love again.
Or feeling that abandonment that you might have felt, or because maybe you finally felt a connection to someone because you didn't have that love growing up. So you never know like what it is. And I think that is so important that you highlighted how a loss is a loss, period.
That's right.
So, you know, you have to grieve. It's a natural part of that process. And so many, we're denied that. And like, you know, they say, okay, well, you got to be a strong Black woman, but don't be too strong because now everybody want to tell you to smile. So it's like, when do you just get to be and experience and deal with life? So we go on and we're just carrying bag after bag after bag, like Erykah Badu's song Bag Lady. At some point, you won't be able to hold all of that and you're going to break down. So I think it's important that people have a safe space and know that they can express themselves and say, you know, I just met this guy. I thought he was going to be the one. It didn't work out. I'm heartbroken. I've been there, so I know how it feels, you know? So it's like, so many people like to pretend that they've never been in that space and that it's not okay for you to be there.
No, you can't possibly feel a connection to someone in a week.
Right.
You know, you see my eyes crossed, like it's just amazing to me what people want to tell you about your experience. And I tell people all the time, like the reason Pit Crew came into existence is I was watching this cartoon, don't judge me, but Cars. You ever see Cars? I love Cars. I love the whole series. Don't judge me. So in the first one, there's this, all of a sudden, this car is feeling like he's all of that and everything. But I started to notice the pit crew, the people that showed up on the side of the the side of the racetrack that would change the tires and wipe down the windows and get the gas in the car and get him back out on the track for the race. And it happened so quickly.
Yeah.
And I started to think about what happens in life if we look at some of the roles that the pit crew has as we look at when we have those spiritual breakdowns in our lives. And I remember someone telling me, they said, I'm going crazy. You don't understand. I'm going crazy. I said, trust me. I've been in a mental institution. You don't want to be there. So if you, who's in your life right now? When they started playing back to me, who's in their life and what positions they hold and what they're saying in their ear. And I remember saying to them, like, they don't know what to do with you. You got this friend showing up. I always tell this story about the pity party. One day I was having a pity party. I mean, I was having a bad pity party. I mean, I was on the couch. I hadn't showered. I hadn't done nothing but just laid on the couch and looked at television. One of my friends, God rest his soul, he showed up at my door. And when I opened the door, he had balloons. He had all my favorite snacks. And he had the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Again, don't judge me. And so his exact words to me were, you know, girls, you have this pity party. I'm going to show you how to have a pity party. Now, we're going to have this party, and then when we're done with this, we're going to figure out another way to handle this. But for right now, here's what we're going to do. He knew not to call me and ask me to go out, not to go clubbing, any of those things, because he knew that wasn't who I was. He's what we call the gas man. The gas man is the person that puts the gas in the car. They physically show up for you. That person in your life has to know how to physically show up for you and pour back into you to help get you going again.
Yes.
But if you have a friend that's like ready to your turn up queen and you not a turn up.
High heels, like, girl, let's go.
You like this. You don't know me. You don't know what I need. But that same friend may not be able to be your gas man, but they may be able to be your jack man. They're the person that you call that lifts you up when you're having that bad day. So you got to know, when I do the workshops, people go, oh, so should I stop being friends with so-and-so? I say, no, unless they're harming you and you just hold on to them because you don't want to be that person. But just figure out where they need to be. What access are you giving them to your life? And when you are healing from a loss, honey, you have to make sure that the people that are in your space should be there. Don't put your single friend who at this point hates all men or hates whomever, didn't like your ex, right, all these other things that you're going on. Don't put them in your team for your healing from your relationship.
A lot of times we have friends that don't even like us. We have friends that
I feel
don't.
like I should just be giving you offering money right now.
And it took a long time for me to end some of those relationships, but it's like we are so addicted to toxic people sometimes. It's like we are afraid to say, you can't be my friend because you don't like me. And I had this one friend, like since middle school, we were friends. And then I just noticed, like, she would only call me during certain times. Conversations were always one-sided. She never wanted to invite me anywhere nice. Just, and I realized, like, she maybe had like some self-esteem or body issues or whatever the case may be, but I just started noticing. And it wasn't until like I saw it in her daughter. And her daughter was like mouthy and talked about people a lot. And I'm like, she's getting this from her mama. So like I saw like the reflection like of her spirit, and I was like, this isn't healthy. This isn't what I want our friendship to be, and this isn't where our friendship should be. And we've known each other for like half of our lives. Like, so yeah, and I just noticed that, we have these people in our lives who we think are our friends. And that's why I'm so against that whole petty movement. And
did I miss the petty movement?
It's still going on. Like, we throwing shade and spilling the tea and all of this. And it's just rudeness. It's people with wounds that are just spewing out their toxicness. And it's okay because we're calling it petty. And I think that just serves us a huge disservice when it comes to like being genuine and developing meaningful connections with people.
Now, I will own, I'm a Virgo and I'm sarcastic. I can be very shade. Like you talk about shade, I can make the sky go black. But I do it with my friends. We do it in private. We do it in love. It's like our bantering back and forth. That's what we do. I think there is a difference between having a relationship that includes that and you understand each other and all this other stuff, to some of the things that I see people do to harm each other. I don't think that it's cute to throw off on people in a way to make them a butt of a joke for everybody to laugh at. Right. I don't laugh at it. I don't think it's amusing, and I will call it out, because most of the people that advocate for that pettiness have been on the other side of that at some point and didn't like it at all. And so what they consider petty is this: it's an undercover defense mechanism. I'm gonna get you before you get me. Right. Or we have given status to people that are able to spill the tea before anybody else. So I could tell you something, and then all of a sudden we'll be out with all the girls, and then you'll say something to allude to this thing that I shared with you in private. That's the kind of stuff that'll get you slapped. I mean, okay. I don't care how I am.
Person, however.
Right. I'm going to give you some pink love right around this area right here. But, if I remember seeing someone post, when did we start glorifying the pettiness in people? And I'm 42 years old. And so my brain, I just, to me, that was like playing the Dirty Dozens. Those were versions of your mama jokes. Those were just, it's just a lane that if you're my friend, we don't do that. We don't do that to embarrass and hurt each other. But you said it earlier. You hit it on the head. We have friends that don't like us and don't have the heart to tell us.
Right.
I would rather you say, love, I've outgrown you and I really can't be your friend anymore. And even if I don't understand it and don't like it, because I've had it happen, it doesn't feel good, I would rather have you do that than to keep me and abuse me because you don't know any other way to deal with me. That happens in relationships. Yep. We don't want to let somebody go because we don't want to be the bad person, but then we abuse them to force them to leave.
Right. And that's the thing. It comes down to like communication, just saying this is not working.
Right. But you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the bad guy. So you don't say that, but you become worse than the bad guy because then your actions, whatever we feel on the inside, and I was just reading this in a book the other day, eventually it's going to come out. You can only camouflage it but so long. So if you have an undercover dislike for someone, eventually it's going to start to come out here.
Yep.
And here.
Yeah.
It has no choice.
That's true.
So it's important to assess the people that we hold close to us. And, like I said, it's not always about getting rid of people, but it's about understanding the access that we give to people. If you have a friend that is going to get more angry than you are about something you tell them about, then you may not want to tell them. Because the next thing you know, you've gone from sharing with them to consoling them about something that affects you.
Right.
Or if you have the friend that vicariously likes to live through everyone else because they don't have the heart to do it in their life. Like there's just sometimes you have to sit back and do this case assessment almost. I call it running people through a filter. You almost have to look at the personality of the people that you are allowing to facilitate a part of your healing. And that's where your love for yourself becomes most important.
Absolutely. And it definitely all ties back into that. Loving yourself enough to protect yourself, to know what's good for you, who is good for you, and to set those healthy boundaries with others.
Mm-hmm. And without those things, without the ability to do that, you do yourself a disservice because if you take your car to a mechanic and you have you have work that needs to be done to your transmission, but the particular mechanic that's there, that's not their specialty. They can do other things other than the transmission. You could get your car back and it'd be worse off than when you took it in.
Right, absolutely.
So if you are trusting elements of your self-care, because that's what it boils down to, elements of your self-care to people that not only are not able to have great self-care with you, they may not have great self-care with themselves. Right. So if you don't know how to take care of what's going on with you, how do I expect you to be able to take care of what's going on with me?
That's true. And that goes back to a lot of hurt people out here. So people operating from a place of hurt, they're going to inflict hurt onto others.
I believe that's Miguel Ruiz, the author of the Four Agreements and Mastery of Self-Love and all of that. And if I'm incorrect, then somebody will correct it. They'll be like, no, that's not the author. But he talks about the hurt body, you know, the jagged edges of people, the jagged edges of what it looks like when we are damaged and we're yet trying to still love on other people or be open to receiving from other people. When you're already in this space, when you have your own jagged edges, then you're cutting other people in the process. People that are trying to love on you and care for you and comfort you. At this point in my journey, I had to understand that if I don't take care of me, then I could be involuntarily damaging and hurting and doing things to other people that create this breakdown for them as well.
Right.
And so I'm responsible for caring for me so that I can be cognizant of the damage that I'm doing to others. It's like, you know, it's kind of a yin and a yang kind of thing. If I don't take care of me, then there's a strong possibility that I'm going to do some damage to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. And I see that because, like I said, I'm a single mom. So I know if my cup is empty, that's just going to create stress points. So I have to make sure I'm in a place where I can be calm and be patient because I have a 3-year-old and so, you know, we have temper tantrums and everything. Like I can't have a temper tantrum. Like I have to be in a place of healing and wholeness so that I can give to her because I don't want to pass any trauma off to her.
And when you're able to accept that responsibility, I don't know if you can hear that ringing sound. If so, I apologize. When you understand what you have the ability to pass on to someone else, as a parent, as a mentor, a teacher, anything like that, when you become aware, you brought tears to my eyes a little bit, so I'm trying to get my bearings together because parents don't always consider what they're really pouring into their child. Mm-hmm. And then they get to a certain age and now the child is responding from this hurt place. And I did the best, I did this, I did that. And the child sometimes will say, well, Mom, you taught me blah, 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 or Dad, you taught me whatever. I know I was adopted, but my mom that raised me, she had this undercurrent of like glass half empty thing all the time. And that's what she put, you know, she had the good moments of, yeah, you should strive to be, but be careful.
Right.
You know, it was always this other side. And so that was a part of me that became my thought process. Mm-hmm. So I've been working diligently to, you know, have full, but it wasn't even intentional. It just was part of her journey to where she had been disappointed on a certain amount of levels, that's what she wanted to make sure that I didn't get to here, you know, that I didn't face this massive amount of disappointment. So I think that is beautiful that you said, I don't want to pass hurt to my child. I don't want to pass trauma because trauma is different.
Yes, very different. And I've experienced different levels of trauma. And looking back at like the way I raised, like I can't blame my parents. You know, they did the best that they could within their
That's
story.
right.
So now it's on me. Like I'm aware and I can look back and see, okay, these things affected me like this. So how can I be a better person, be a better mother, and transform that so that I'm not, you know, sending that. And I forgot where it was that I saw that, but it, you know, trauma is passed down from generations. And we see this with even like through something like the slave trade, like all of that stuff affects people and it's in our DNA. And unless we do the work to change it, we're just going to continue repeating these cycles.
Mm. And you're right about that. And so when we talk about Black love, let's comment, you know, let's go back to that for a moment. People make it external, this external celebration of Black love. Even with Black history, we make it an external celebration. Don't misunderstand. Honor the ancestors, honor the trailblazers, the people that walked before us. But there's a esteem that we got to start to have for ourselves as people of color. There's an understanding that Black love doesn't just apply to the love I have with me and my boo. It applies to the love I have with me and my child. It applies to the love I have with me and myself, me and my sisters, me and my brothers, and those in between. Because some of us in between.
And that's part of what, like, where Spiritual Love Week came from, because people feel like, oh, it's Valentine's Day, I'm not in a relationship, so I can't celebrate. No, you can't celebrate. As long as you are waking up and you are breathing, you have love inside of you. And you have to start honoring that yourself. Like, if you're not honoring, you know, that within you, who else is going to? How are you going to let people see that? Like, I buy myself flowers. I have like my candles lit.
That's right.
That, because those are the things that make me feel good. Feel like we can't, like, okay, well, I'm not going to go to this nice restaurant because I don't have a man to take me, or, you know, I don't have anybody to take me on a date, so I'm going to just sit in the house. No, you have to love yourself first. And when you go out, that's when you will meet the people. So, like, I've had amazing nights just going out by myself. I always meet somebody to sit down and have a conversation.
And I bet those are conversations that feed you a certain kind of way that you didn't even anticipate, having someone that spoke to that place in you.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Some kind of divine connection.
Absolutely.
Never nothing like weird or like creepy, but it's always and I guess maybe it's a different energy you're putting out, but I've always attracted just whether it's a couple or a woman or just a man, and it's people just talking, and it's always some kind of divine message. And I remember I went out and had lunch or something, and this older lady was like, "You're on the right path." And she was like, "So what do you know?" Asking me like, what was I doing with my life? And sorry, that's my little one. And she was like, "You know, you're on the right path." And I'm just like, okay, good.
Well, as you saw, the little one decided to comment right when you said you were on the right path. That was the angelic voice of the baby giving you confirmation. Again, mommy, yes, you're on the right path. But you know, it's amazing because you said something that you got to go back to. And I just want to pull it out because you said it, and it is so true. You said maybe it was a different kind of energy you put out. If you're sitting at dinner by yourself and you are smiling and enjoying your food and looking around and you know, giving acknowledgement to people, that's what you're putting out. That's what you're going to get back. If you're sitting there, you're mad and you're like, you know, I hate the world and I hate, you know, don't bring that little Cupid so-and-so around me because I'm going to bash him in his head, you know. If you're walking with that kind of mentality, then that's what you're going to put out, and that's what people are going to see. But if you go, I tested it, not intentionally, but if you walk through a day and you are saying hello to people. And I'm in New York, so, you know, we kind of have, you know, I'm originally from Philly, so that's probably why I can get to say hello to people. But, when you say hello to people, when you show love, when you acknowledge love, when I see couples, it just, even though I'm in the middle of a separation, I'm just like, that's beautiful.
And it's funny because sometimes they looking back at you like, what is she thinking? Is she hating on? And I'm just looking like, dang, that's love.
That's
and
love.
I always wonder, like, what is their story? Like, what brought these two people together? But I always like smile because I acknowledge the love that I see, regardless of what type of couple it is, if it's interracial, if it's same sex, if it's three folks together. Just acknowledging love itself is so powerful. And I talked a little bit about that. Like, everybody like needs to realize love isn't the same for all people. It's different. And once we can start to realize that and stop being against love, we could win so much better. Like, people are fighting against people loving each other. That don't even make sense.
But, you know, sometimes, and I have done it, I have said to people, your love is so beautiful. You know, and then they'll be like, thank you. You know, because maybe in that, and here's the other side, sometimes you don't know what moment that they're really in.
Right.
Because I can remember going out and still dancing and still smiling and still functioning with, you know, my spouse, and we fighting like cats and dogs. We ain't even speaking when we left out the door. It's just like, but sometimes that acknowledgement is that reminder that I don't have to like you today, but I still love you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That is beautiful.
So I don't know. This is the first Valentine's time since everything that has happened, and I just decided to, you know, hang out with some friends. Good. And have a good time. Sometimes you have to be willing to feed yourself with what you want to eat.
Yes.
We wait for someone to serve us, but the more that you learn what you desire to eat and what food works for you, the least likely you are to eat from a plate that's going to make you sick.
Oh, say that. Yes. That is deep on so many levels.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer now. I'm starting to understand that. And I'm also starting to understand that just because something didn't work out didn't mean that you wasted your time. And I feel like I need to say that because people say that, you know, like I wasted all this time with that person. You got you received some great moments. And when you're able to understand that you've received some great moments, and guess what? You don't have to receive the not so great moments anymore.
Double blessing.
How much? Okay, so once we can deal with that and accept that, then we can begin the true process of healing, because true healing gets blocked by barriers of reminiscing, by barriers of regret, by barriers of anything that's low vibration. You need that, you know, in my mind, I see it differently now, like that. When I think of high vibration, I think of almost volcano-ish. Okay. You know, so you have this going on, and eventually it's going to push out the light and everything that you need, and the fire, whatever's inside of that place is going to be pushed out. But if you just are here the whole time, it never gets to come out. Right. It's just going to be sitting there gathering and festering and being. So, you know, I say to anyone who's watching, one of the things that I would definitely like to say to someone is love, the greatest love, and I'm not going to get real religious or spiritual, so there's a greater love. I'm going to just let that be. I'll let that be in a different category. But one of the best things that you can give yourself in moments like this, where we've just come off of all of these holidays, and that any kind of loss, whether you lost your job, whether you lost your mate, whether you lost someone in your family, is to give yourself time to grieve.
Yes.
Don't bind yourself up by what you think you should be doing when you're grieving or what that's supposed to look like. Check and see who's in your parameters and what they're bringing to you. But most of all, take care of yourself. Don't isolate yourself to depress yourself, but take care of yourself. I won't get into this too shall pass and tomorrow be better and let go and let God and all those other things that sometimes in the moment, even though they may have legitimacy, you don't want to hear it.
That's the last thing you want to hear.
Right. You're like this. What?
That's true, because I remember those moments. I say something else. Just let me be here.
You'd be like,
now. Just let me be here for right now.
Right.
And I think that's so important, like taking care of yourself. And start your own like tradition. If you feel like you don't have anybody for Valentine's Day, make yourself a dinner, like whatever your favorite meal is. Cook yourself a nice dinner, light you some candles, put on your favorite dress, or go out to eat. Get dolled up like to the max. Pour it on, just your favorite perfume, nice dress, or whatever you want to wear. And go to that 5-star restaurant or go to that little hole in the wall that makes the best French fries. Do it. Grab yourself a balloon and some flowers and write yourself a love letter, get a card.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, like love yourself, seriously, love yourself hard. And I think one of the things that I want to do next year is like a Valentine's Day photo shoot with me and my girls, just a whole bunch of balloons, flower petals, like just go over the top. Why not?
But do you know what that'll teach them? That Valentine's Day is not about how another person makes me feel. I've seen being a relationship coach, I have coached people through massive fights because something didn't happen on Valentine's Day. Oh, he didn't get this or she didn't do that. And I'll be like, it's a day.
You know what's funny about Valentine's Day? Everybody be sitting around hoping and wishing. I hope he does this. I wonder if she's going to do that. But did you ever sit down and talk to each other about your expectations? Exactly. Like have that conversation. If you expect to wake up to a bed full of rose petals, nobody's going to know unless you tell them.
Exactly. Well, I expect him to be romantic. He ain't romantic. To him is making sure that, he got some beer for the football game. It's just...
And you have to understand their level of what romance is. Some people weren't wired necessarily that way. Romance might be, I boiled an egg this morning because that's all I knew how to do. Mm-hmm. To appreciate that effort, even no matter if it's the worst thing in the world, you still got to appreciate the effort.
And understand that everybody, like you said, sees certain days differently. Like I have friends that'll say in a minute, I don't really celebrate Valentine's Day. I give love 364 days, other days. So I don't necessarily single out this one day. And, that's why I love the idea of doing that with your daughters, because what you do is that could become a tradition for them.
Exactly.
And the first time when they get of age and, they have that male friend or whatever, you saw I said it slowly, like it just slowly came out of my mouth. I figured, let me just usher it in just a little bit. But when they get to that place,
I know it's coming, Lord.
But they won't give other people the responsibility of teaching them how to love themselves.
Yes. And
there's a difference.
Yeah. I see a lot of little girls, like there's so many conversations that we could have. I see so many little girls starving for love and attention and wanting a relationship so early nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as parents, and me having children, I think was like my saving grace, because I have a 15-year-old and she's at that age with boys, and I'm just
No
like,
wonder you made that face.
yes, okay. And I'm just like, man, listen, in 5 years, none of this is gonna matter. But
But everything matters right now.
yeah, it's so real to her, and I have to tell myself, okay, this is her life, it's her story, so I gotta be there with her.
Mm-hmm.
But I want her to realize that it's not about somebody else liking or loving you, and coming from a place of wholeness within yourself, treating yourself the way that you want to be treated and loved and respected, because then that will attract those people and those experiences to you.
Can you be my mother? Can you be?
Yes, I got more space.
But those are the things that we definitely need to hold on. And once you teach that, and also teach the understanding of toxic relationships, and how to, as one of the comedians I love, Lonnie B, says, how to know who your good girlfriend is.
Yeah.
Once you're able to get those three circles, that external, that internal, and that spiritual, once those three areas are vibrating in a space that is feeding and giving to you, and you are able to feed and give back to it, because it's always a reciprocity,
right?
Then you the mindset that will be developed in that child, or even in you, because it's never too late to reset anything. And people say, how do you know? I said, you still getting lessons, you still getting trials, you still getting, yeah, I am. That's the universe's way of taking you through to those places of evolution and elevation.
Yes.
When you stop getting issues, then you might have to look around.
Yeah, right.
Just like, okay. And that doesn't mean that you wait for the other shoe to drop. It just means that you may need to look and say, well, maybe I've overcome, or maybe I've made the changes necessary in this area. So for now, I get to just be.
Yeah, that's a beautiful space to be in.
Yeah, so this was amazing. Like, you just set my day into this space. I feel very tranquil and reminded that even in this time, for my own self, like I said, I'm going through my own journey with some things, to almost get a little Shakespearean about it, to thine own self be true, like to understand that in this time, to continue to love on myself and be gentle with myself, and to look around and see who's in my pit crew and because you can have a different pit crew for different things. So, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Don't get rid of everybody. Just know that you can't necessarily put your unemployed friend who never wants to get a job on your pit crew for your new job search.
Right.
So you gotta kind of gotta know who's able to do what. But inside of that, I really appreciated this conversation today. I feel so warm and oozy. I'm gonna hold my little amethyst here, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I've got my rose quartz. So you definitely have warmed my heart. Let us know where we can find your book, Pit Crew.
Okay, so let me show the front of the cover again. There we go. It is available on Amazon. All my books are available on Amazon. I have Mental Silhouette, which is a collection of poetry. Domestically Cursed, a story on partnership violence, where I talk about my relationship that I experienced physical and emotional abuse. Then there's Pit Crew, How to Survive a Spiritual Pit Stop. And there's also Come With Me Love, a 21-day journey for couples into the Song of Solomon. So all of those books are available on Amazon.
Yay, awesome. Congratulations on your successful authorship. I think that's amazing. That's one of my goals this year. It has been
so you notice the baby always comment on certain things. Your child got gifts. That's all I'm going to say.
She definitely does. She is ahead of her time for sure. But yeah, we have to catch up again. This was amazing. So so many conversations to be had. This was just, I'm hoping, the start of many.
Absolutely. And I thank you, and I'm humbly grateful, and I'm honored that you allowed me to be part of Spiritual Love Week.
Oh, thank you. Enjoy your travels. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Love Day, every day, all day.
Exactly. And I wish the same to you and the girls.
Thank you.
And I think you could still do that shoot. You can still do that shoot. And even if you can't do it professionally the way that you want, we have these amazing cameras on the back of our phones now. Do something cute like that.
You know what? I think I will. Thank you for that inspiration. And she's over here talking about, oh my gosh.
She heard that. She already gets, get some little heart stickers. Just have fun with the day. Don't wait till next year because you can't do it the way that you want. Just
You're absolutely
something
right.
for now.
Absolutely right. Thank you for that inspiration. And we will talk soon. I appreciate you so much. Have a beautiful and magical day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.